I don't know who Ricky Bobby is, mate.
You not watch Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell? It's all about NASCAR in America, but it's a comedy and it's fucking hilarious. His nemesis in it is Ali G. Mate, it's brilliant. Do yourself a favour tonight, Talladega Nights. 2 hours, pissy sides laughing.
Right, I'll have to. I think I've seen it. It's on Netflix, I think, isn't it?
It'll be on Netflix somewhere, yeah. Oh, it's hilarious, mate.
Right, I'll stick it on. Like I say, I've seen it, and I'm sure I have actually seen it in the past, but never just. I think I've seen it when it's one of them films, isn't it? That's usually on at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're just like half watching it, half sleeping at the same time, sort of thing.
Then woke up dribbling on yourself.
Yeah. Wake up shouting Ricky Bobby in your sleep.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I've hit record now anyway, Bash, so I suppose we best... I suppose we've already started, haven't we? But welcome to the first ever podcast. So thanks for helping us out with it. Obviously, you know... Bedroom. Actually, I'm in the kitchen.
I'm disappointed now.
So I haven't got anywhere to sit in my bedroom other than my bed, and that'd be really weird. So it's strange. Yeah. Well, I mean, as much as when we were buying the house, I actually tested. There's enough space at the end of the bed to do a lot of dancing, which the estate agent wasn't happy about when she caught me dancing about. But it's you've got to test these things out before you've got to try before you buy, haven't you?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll introduce you to the one person that might watch this. So obviously, Martin Bashforth, otherwise known as Bash to us lot. I mean, we've known each other for what, 2005, 2006? Do you reckon we first met?
When I first left the army, I met you lot at a random gathering at bloody McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken or something like that. I think it'd be something like that back then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, back when we swang about on McDonald's car parks for fun.
And then we've all grown up and we don't do it as often anymore.
That's only because we can't afford McDonald's these days. And McDonald's is closed.
Yes. Yeah, we're having to eat healthy food at the moment. It's killing me.
Yeah. we actually managed to get a Chinese delivered last night.
That's not good.
It took some phoning about, probably about 7th or 8th Chinese that we rang, but we managed to get a Chinese delivered. And it's actually really good as well, much better than where we usually go. So
you do realise this virus came from China, don't you? It's
yeah. Well, my theory is if the Chinese are here making my Chinese food, but they've probably not been to China for quite a while. Yeah, they're probably more English than I am at this point. So
yeah, your Chinese food came from Leyland, not China. So
yeah. So exactly. So go on. So we first met. It would have been the Bye Bye GTI days, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was indeed.
Yeah, back when we were both just about getting into cars at that point, really, because we would have been, I don't know, early 20s, I think, at that point.
What would I have been? 22, 23? So yeah, I'd just left the army. I'd not been back in the UK that long. I'd finished a posting in Germany, driven back to the UK, all the way back thinking, oh Christ, what have you done? The only thing I'd known since school was being a soldier. And driven all the way back to the UK thinking, oh, you've ruined it now. What have you done? You're going to have to actually be a person again. And yeah, I got back and thought, oh, everybody I knew from school's all grown up and fired off and done their own thing. And now what do I do? I think I'd literally been out for something to eat one night, and it was Tom that I spotted Escort Cosworth just parked up randomly. And I thought, oh, they're nice. I'm going to go and have a look at that. And
just talking to someone today about Escort Cosworths, and this guy was saying, "Oh yeah, he's got a Mark III Focus RS," and he was saying, "Oh, he'd love an Escort Cosworth." And I was thinking, how much have they gone up now? I had a look; there's 60 grand now for an Escort Cosworth.
No, and that one of Tom's, he's been restoring it now for what? It's got to be about 6 years. It's been a while. Yeah. And how much has it gone up in that time? And it's not even seen the road.
No, if you think back then, when Tom had his, and obviously Tricky and Andy and all the other lads that we know with Escort Cosworths were, I mean, I suppose we were lucky to go round Escort Cosworths and Sierra Cosworths, but they were 10 a penny back then.
And you can't afford one now.
Oh, no, I wish I'd bought one back then.
Seeing what you posted the other day about, what was it, a DB4? 5.5 grand new, and like 10 million. Oh, mate. If only you knew.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I didn't actually realise one of my friend's dads, but when I put that post on the other day with the DB4s on it and DB5s, one of my mates' dads posted and said, "Oh yeah, my dad used to have a DB5. Like, he used to let me drive it around the yard and stuff. It was just the daily car. It wasn't worth anything." And I'm thinking, geez, man, that even a rough one these days has got to be worth best part of £1 million. So
It was at Shakespeare Raceway a couple of years ago before it shut, sadly. I'd gone down in the Focus, didn't run it because the gearbox is awful in the bloody car. And I was chatting to a guy there that were building trikes, and he had a couple of custom trikes with him. He was on one, his wife was on one. And he kind of singled me out for the car, and he was chatting away to me about it. And he said he's had causes and things like that in the past. And I said, "Oh yeah, but now you got into bike building." He said, "It's not always been that way. I used to break cars. I owned a scrapyard." I asked him, when we're talking here, he said, "Oh, through the 80s and 90s. I said, "All right, and what kind of thing were you into?" He said, "I've always been a Ford man. That's why I came talking to you." I said, "Oh, breaking them?" And he went, "Yeah, breaking them, scrapping them, Mark 1 escorts, things like that." I said, "And now you know what they're worth, don't you?" And he just said, "Yeah. And if I knew back then what they were worth, I'd be a multi-millionaire right now." It's,
Yeah,
who'd have thought it?
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's, yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I said to a couple of my mates that I wanted to buy some Saxo VTSs. This is going back probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I said I want to buy a VTS or a couple of VTS, and they both looked at me and said, "You're absolutely crazy." And there was an older guy in the bar room who overheard us speaking, and he said, "People would have thought you were crazy if you said you wanted to buy a Mark 1 Escort or a Mark 1 Golf 20 years ago." So. Yeah. I mean, and Saxo VTSs have actually started to creep up already. I mean, 3 or 4 grand now.
Anywhere, do you?
No. Well, that's the thing.
I see. Go on.
I was going to say, that's the thing. I mean, all the cars that we thought were common back as kids, they're just not on the road anymore. They've disappeared. And because we used to love them when we were kids and couldn't afford them, obviously, when you get older, you've got a bit more spare cash. You can afford the cars. You'll pay more for a decent one, and that's how it all starts, isn't it? So
got that tiny little gap where you can afford to buy one, haven't you? Before they start shooting up in value and get stupid. So I think we've missed all the Cozzies. We're never affording one of them now, are we?
Well, I'd have to sell my house to buy a Cozzy these days. So
yeah, I don't think Rachel would appreciate that if I sold the house for a car. She tried getting me to sell the car for the house, but that didn't work out. So never mind.
Well, look at you. I ended up selling the M3 to buy the house, so that was yeah. And I'm already seeing that was a bad idea because M3s are creeping up every day. So that's.
I remember that conversation when I came down, and you said, "Yeah, apparently I'm buying a house." Hannah's just messaged me and told me I'm buying a house. All right, that's a strange one.
Yeah, it's a little bit unplanned. So,
it went well, though.
Oh yeah, never mind. So anyway, we were saying, so you went to, so you were driving down one day, you seen Tom in the Cozzy, and that was the beginning of getting back into the car scene, I'm guessing.
That was, yeah. I'd not been with it for quite a while. For years, every time I was back in the UK, an old school friend of mine, Dave, his uncle was massively into the Fords and things like that. He had a white Escort Cosworth. All his mates had Safs and things like that, Sierras. So we'd go out. They were over the Yorkshire way. I was based in the Midlands for quite a while. It was a nice, easy run up and down the M1. And we'd fire off around the Yorkshire modified car scene at Brighouse and places like that. It was just Sunday nights. That was the done thing back then. Brighouse, Wakefield, over to Bradford and so on and so forth. And then back to Nuneaton for a week's work in the green uniform as a soldier again. But then off to Germany. And the German car scene was a bit weird. Not only that, you speak a different language, and the way they looked at you was you were a bit of an imposter, if you will, a British guy over there, and they didn't really like the British Army anyway. So you couldn't really do much or be into much apart from going to the pubs all the time, drinking lots. And yeah, he kind of fizzled out a little bit then, and the car I had at the time was just a normal bog standard Focus, and it was just for doing the mileage, racking up about 1,000 miles a week if I came back to the UK. So I'd kind of got away from it, and it was only coming back to the UK and that random encounter that night, speaking to Tom, and then speaking to you guys as well, and Crossy and Tricky and everybody else, as you go through it. At the time, I think it was an ST 170, grey one.
I remember that car.
Went from there, stupid massive wheels on it that just ruined the ride handling of the car completely. But that's what we did, wasn't it? We didn't care what we did to it driving wise. It was as long as it looked good, as long as it was all right when it was sat still. It didn't matter how horrible it was to drive when it was moving. So grown up a bit.
I've been through that. Now it's like I say, it's more about the performance side of cars these days, and it is the obviously the looks. But I mean, the thing is, I remember someone said at some point it's been all around the internet, I suppose, at this point. But yeah, every race car is a show car, but not every show car is a race car. So
yeah, that makes sense. I like that.
It does. Yeah, if you could look at a rally car that's just done a rally covered in mud and you still want to look at it, don't you? It's still a show car.
Yeah.
So, but once you've seen a Golf on air ride and big wheels, you've seen a Golf on air ride and big wheels, haven't you? And it looks good, but it can't do much else but look good. So
I remember pictures coming out. I've never been to Ultimate Dubs or anything like that. The V-Dub scene's just never been me. But I remember seeing pictures coming out a few years ago, and the way I got onto them was I think somebody had taken them out on Escort. So I thought, I'm going to have a good look at that. That looks all right. So I'm searching through all these pictures. And before you know it, a Mark III Golf came up, and the roll cage kind of went down to the dashboard and didn't go through it. So it was just a proper show cage, but it wasn't a normal hoop like you'd normally get, and that's it. It was meant to look like full-on fitted cage, and it literally just went to the dash and stopped, and I don't get it. But, we're all into different things, and that's the good thing about it. Everyone's into different things, and you appreciate what other people do. And, coming down to your place and seeing some of the cars that you get in, not just the Aston Martins and the Lamborghinis and stuff, which most people would find impressive, but all the modified cars as well that you see. And you can still appreciate what somebody's done, and it is nice to see it.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I've gone more into the Volkswagen world and Audi world with how things look rather than how they perform. Until obviously recently with me DTM, I'm trying to be a bit more performance orientated with that. Which is, it's strange. I've never. I was thinking this the other day when I was talking on Facebook about the Mark III RSs and things. Everyone that I know, like obviously yourself, Damo, everyone, most of my friends are all in the Ford scene. I've always been surrounded by Fords. And
You've been the black sheep.
Yeah, I've never owned a Ford. I borrowed a Mark III Fiesta once that I rolled and hit a tree, wrote off. That was my near death experience. That was even if I was in the papers and everything, because they had to cut us out the car, and it was it was a nasty one. It was a case of the ambulance drivers were asking us like, how are you alive? Like, I mean, it was that bad. I went to the AAA in Leyland to go and get my stuff out of the car. When I turned up at the garage, I was on crutches and stuff. I mean, I broke a few ribs and badly bruised and stuff down one side where the tree had actually hit my door. But when I turned up at the salvage yard, I said, "Oh, come to get some stuff out of the Fiesta." And the guys put on like a somber face and a bit of a soft voice. And he was like, "Oh, were you one of the passengers?" I said, "No, mate, I was driving it." And he was like, "No, you weren't driving that car." And I said, "I was."
You not got out of that.
Yeah. So then he took me into the yard to have a look at the car, and I was like, "Jeez!" Like the driver's door was touching the passenger seat. It come straight over the seat and was touching the passenger seat. And I was like, how the hell did I get out of that? But like I said, that was one of my Ford experiences that wasn't actually my car. And then my next Ford experience is the Focus that I currently own, which I don't technically own because it's still got Hannah's dad's name on the logbook, because it was only ever... It was bought to do tip runs and a few runs back into when I was moving unit. I never thought I'd still have it this long, but it's been one of the most reliable cars I've ever owned.
That grey one?
So yeah, that grey one, yeah, I've still got it, still going, yeah.
Bloody hell.
So yeah, I mean, it's strange that I've always been surrounded by Fords, always been involved in Fords and fast Fords and things like that, and never actually owned one. I don't understand why. But obviously, you were different. You started off with your ST and you progressed through the Ford scene from there.
I think my car. I mean, back when I was in school, I was tinkering around with cars with a friend of my dad's, Matt, at the time, and I bought an old Mark I Fiesta back then, an orange thing, but it was more orange rust than that orange paint. And that got scrapped, and naturally, I'm regretting that now, knowing what they're worth. In such a short period of time, from me being that age to now. From that to a Mark IV Fiesta, which was awful, but it was all right. It drove me backwards and forwards to Salisbury every week, and it was good for that. That to think I had an XR2i for a while, which again was a rock box, so it lasted over 6 months before it catastrophically failed its MOT. Mark IV Escort, great car again, good for doing the mileage. Mark 1 Focus, great for the mileage again. ST170, really thirsty, not that powerful. ST170 owners will hate me for saying that, but it's the truth, never mind. RS, so finally ended up with one. And now it's sat on the driveway under a cover while I drive a hybrid every day. Boy, haven't we grown up?
Yeah, I've seen a few of your posts recently saying actually praising the hybrid, which I never thought I'd see from anybody I know, to be honest.
They're awesome. They're brilliant. I was dead against them. All this batteries in the car, sod off, proper engines, get a turbo. But then started working at Toyota. Couldn't really avoid driving them. And one of the first jobs I did was do a sort of sat nav out on a CHR, one of the big crossover school run mum car looking things. I shouldn't say that because I now own one. But having to drive it around aimlessly for 3 days, just checking this sat nav out, and you kind of fall for the thing. They're just so comfy and so easy to drive. I mean, it helps going from a Focus that wants to break you back every bump you go over, and it's loud and noisy and not comfortable, but you put your foot down and it goes like the clappers. But you don't always want to do that day to day. And half the time, you just want a nice, normal, comfy, easy drive. And then driving this CHR and everything's comfy. It's nice and quiet. It's effortless to drive. It's doing 60 to 70 miles to the gallon. It's brilliant. And I thought then, yeah, I need one of these. And then work have a really good company lease scheme. So I got one. And every 6 months, I get a new one. So it's best of all worlds. I get to have one without having to own one. So
that's not bad.
But Focus lives under its cover, and it's not been touched for like the last 4 months, the poor car. But
no. But again, just going back to the buying the right cars at the right time and appreciating, you're not doing too bad with the Focus with the Mark 1 RS.
No, I paid about $5,000 for that car. Really low mileage. I'll be honest, it's on the register, so it is a Cat D. It had a light front end bump when it was nearly new.
I thought you meant it was on the sex offenders register. that goes with the owner, not with the car. That's
I probably know. But yeah, it changed. I've got a really, really good stack of history. And Clayton Borger used to be the registrar on the RS Owners Club of the Mark 1 Focuses. He was really, really good with the history on the car when I bought it. And it was basically bought new. Somebody bumped it. They decided to buy it back from insurance after they paid it, thinking I can make a quick buck on this, I'll repair it. Ford weren't selling any body panels. They couldn't repair it. So they sat on the car for a while, got fed up of sitting on it, sold it on to somebody who thought, I can make a quick buck on this, I'll buy it, repair it. Who couldn't repair it. And that happened a few times. And I think it was on about the fourth owner before somebody finally managed to repair the car, which was a guy in Wakefield who put the car back together. And he planned to give it to his wife. He had some kind of fast bloody Jaguar that he was using day to day, and he said it scared the hell out of his wife, so he wanted her to have something nice but quick, and she hated it because it was uncomfortable. It didn't have all the creature comforts of a modern car and stuff, so they put it up for sale and I bought it. So it had 30-odd thousand miles on when I bought it. I'd always planned to use it daily, so it didn't put me off having one that's on the insurance register as categorised write-off. And knowing that if I ever came to sell the car, I'd probably break it anyway and sell it in parts and try and keep all the minters on the road. So it made perfect sense for me. I got a great car, low mileage, well looked after by everybody other than the first owner. And yeah, it's been a great car. It's not really had any problems, to be completely honest. There's been an ongoing issue with the gearbox, but that's always been it works, so I'll leave it. And when it finally breaks properly, I'll fix it. But yeah, I've done about 60,000 miles in that car, and it's had some abuse, and it's never let me down. So I can't fault it.
Yeah, I mean, what we're saying now is that was it on about 90,000 your car?
About 90k, yeah, just shy of 90k. I think it's about 89 something last time I put the cover.
I mean, and if you were to put that up for sale today, what's that worth these days?
After Graham Cusack's done a bit of body work on it, even on the register like it is, probably about 11. If it wasn't, it's doubled. It's doubled in value at least, and that's using it every day.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's not many cars you can go out there and buy, run it every day, and double your money on. I mean,
no,
like I say,
exactly. Some of them are even more daft than that. Aren't there two up for sale at the moment that I believe it might be somebody that you know, that's got two very, very, very low mileage ones, and the part of a collection, he also had two very low mileage Mark II RSs and a couple of STs as well, all low mileage.
Is this the collection? Oh, I wish I could remember who it was. I'll be able to find it. I'll link some pictures onto the like while we're talking. I'll link this up on here. But is this the collection that's in Preston that everyone knows is in Preston now? But the one
it's around here somewhere.
Yeah, and he's got the Mark IIs. He's got the Mark. He's got everything. He's got every Ford RS built in the last God knows how long. He's got them with delivery mileage, hasn't he?
Yeah, they're all sub 20, 30 miles on the clock, and if those Focuses don't go for north of 40 grand, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I am still. You keep on talking, Bash, but I am. I'm trying to pull it up on the iPad next to me here so I can find out. I'll tell you what the cars are that he's got. Yeah,
but I know you get the haters that say, "Well, those cars are made to be driven," and yeah, I agree. I can't disagree because I drove one every day, and some of the things I'd done with that car, we stayed in a house in Scotland, and I used the 3-mile driveway to it as a rally special stage. It was like 2 feet deep in sheep shit at one point. So the car was getting absolutely abused. I've had a 8-seat dining table in the back of it. I put 400 kilos of stone in the back of it once just by putting a tarpaulin in the car, and people went absolutely mental at me saying, "Do you know what you've got there?" Yes, I do, and it's my car, so I will do with it how I please.
Exactly, like I say, it's your car. You can. That's the privilege you've got, isn't it?
So I can't really disagree with people when they say, "Do you know what that car is?" And it's made to be driven. But at the same time, from growing up and having that older head on and everything, and seeing that this guy spent about 15k on one of them new, because I believe he bought 3 when they were new, so he might have got a bit of a discount. But he's now got 2 sat there with next to no mileage on that are going to sell for 35, 40 grand easily.
How much did you just say they were brand? How much were they brand new?
15, 16 grand.
Was that all they were?
Yeah, I think 2003, so it was a lot of money back then. But Ford made a massive loss when they sold them.
Yeah, well, I remember that I actually worked at Ford as a valeter when the Mark I RS came out. I was at, I think it was Evans Hall Show in Blackpool. It was in Blackpool. I can't remember if it's an Evans Hall Show or a different dealership over there. But I was working there as a valeter, and I was gutted because I obviously saw it on Top Gear when they did the launch, and then I could never drive one because I think I would have been 18, 19 at the time.
Old enough.
Yeah, I wasn't. You had to be over 21. I can't remember if I was 18, 19, or if I was early 20s and you had to be 25. But whatever it was, I wasn't old enough to drive them, so I never got to work on them. Obviously, with them being what they were, I think we only ever had 2 come through the dealership anyway, so it wasn't like there was loads of them knocking about. But I was that gutted that I never got to drive them. I actually, my mum once bought me, these the driving experience days when you can, go to a racetrack and drive whatever you want to drive. So she actually bought me a Lamborghini experience at Mallory Park. So we went down to Mallory Park. I can't remember what car I would have been driving at the time back then. Oh, in fact, yeah, I can. I was driving I had a BMW 316 Coupe, an E36.
Oh, yeah.
Which, yeah, but so I would have been just over 18 because I bought that car just after I turned 18. Basically because I got told that I couldn't have a BMW because I was 18 and I can't afford one. So I was a valeter. Well, I was a valeter by day and I worked at McDonald's at night just so I could get the money. So that I got it on finance, but I was earning with 2 jobs. I was earning plenty enough money to go and buy a BM, and it was so yeah, I bought one just because someone told me I couldn't, basically. So
driving a BM at a Ford dealership, did they do that to you every time you drove in the morning?
Yeah, pretty much. Every time I came out, I had flat tires every time. So, but yeah, so I drove down to Mallory Park, did me, and you had to do a couple of sighting laps, and you either did it in a Hawkeye Subaru, the WRX at the time, which was when they just put the 2.5 engine in them. So you either did it. It was just pot luck which one you got. You either got the Hawkeye or you got the Mark I Focus RS to do your sighting laps in. Obviously, sod's law. I got the Subaru. So did my sighting laps in the Subaru. Then I did my laps it was a bright yellow Lamborghini Gallardo. And then I did a couple of laps in a bright yellow Hummer H2. So that was far more fun than the Lamborghini was. The Hummer was
corners. We'll go over that barrier. Yeah.
Yeah, the H2 was far more fun than the Lambo. And then after you've done your stuff, obviously, like they all do, they all want to sell you extra stuff. So they said if you go into the sales office, and they had a raft of cars there, Lamborghinis, Aston Martins, Ferraris, you name it, they had it there. And they were, for a fee, you could then drive whatever car you wanted to drive. Like I think it was like £30 or £40 like per lap to go and do an extra lap in one of these cars. So I went in and said, "How much is it to do it in the Focus?" And the sheer disbelief on everyone's face, like the girl behind the counter was like, "I don't know." Yeah, they were like, "No one's ever come in here and said, 'Can I do a lap in a Ford Focus?'" Like that's not what happened. So obviously, I explained why I wanted to do the laps in the Focus. It cost me, I don't know, I think it was still £40, but I got 4 laps instead of 1 or something like that. And then I went out with the same instructor as I'd been out with in the Lambo and the Hummer. And I went out, but when we'd finished, he came back and went, "Bloody hell," he said, "You've done faster laps in the Focus than you did in the Lambo." And he said, and by far, he said, obviously they don't time you on that type of day, but he was like, just by being sat in the car, you can tell you were far faster in the Focus. And I was like, well, yeah, that's because it's a Focus. You can drive it, and if something goes wrong, you're like, it's
not worried about it.
Yeah, something goes wrong in a Lambo, that's that's the end of my life, sort of thing.
Money.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously back then, like I say, I would have been 18, 19, and I thought I was flying in all the cars. We actually had one of these Lamborghini Experience days recently at Elgington Proving Grounds.
Oh yeah.
And she actually drove faster on the M62 going there and back than she did in the Lamborghini, because the instructor was kept saying, "Yeah." Well, she sat on the M62 at a speed, and the instructor, she went out in this Lambo, and he's going, "No, slow down, brake for this corner, brake for that corner," and she's like, he just didn't trust her, obviously being a woman. And I was thinking, if only he knew all the driving that she's done, and the numerous laps of the Nürburgring and Alton Park and God knows what Anglesey, every track I've driven, she's also driven at this point. So it's
probably done more than they have.
I know, yeah. So yeah, she wasn't best pleased with that. She was a bit annoyed, but you got slowed down. But anyway, that was my story of my final Mark 1, getting to drive a Mark 1 RS.
You can drive mine anytime you want. Just don't put it on its roof.
I think I've driven yours. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have. Yeah, I've driven yours. I remember Tricky used to have one. I drove his. I've drove a few of them now. They don't. But like I say, that's another car that I knew when they came out they were going to drop. Obviously, everything drops at some point, but they were going to go back up.
Climb back up.
I mean, like I said, the Mark 1 and the Mark 2s, at least they're a special looking RS. The Mark 3
blends in, doesn't it? Apart from the colour, it's a bit.
Yeah. I mean, this is the strange thing about the Mark 3, though. For some reason, I prefer the Mark 3. The Mark 3 is my favourite RS, even though
it's comfy fast. It's probably the best way of putting it. You can drive it every day. Yeah. And then you can press your little drifty button and become Ken Block.
Yeah, I'm yet to see anybody actually do that though. Like
I've seen one. Kieran, his name was. He lives in Chorley, and he owned one for a bit, and he had no end of problems with it, with the head gasket thing and everything. And I think it started twisting as well in the end. The bodies twist on some of them. Right. But he hammered the hell out of that car.
Yeah.
Oh, he drove it properly, and I've seen videos of him flying around on gravel car parks sideways and everything. So fair play to him. He drove it properly.
You know, I'm assuming you know the story behind the head gaskets on the RSs.
Yeah, the engines aren't quite the same as the ones in the Mustangs, are they?
Exactly.
But they started using parts from one on the other one without how a manufacturer can't realise that. I don't know. It happened. They're fixing it slowly. That maybe done.
Well, I mean, they said that it's obviously someone's just picked up the wrong box and shipped it as an RS box instead of a Mustang box, but there must have been a hell of a lot of head gaskets in that box, because it's affected cars worldwide, not just in one country. So it's
weird. I mean, I know all manufacturers make cock-ups, but that's a bit of a big one. That And it's not only that, but you've seen some of the work done by the dealers as well, and the cars are coming out, and obviously unsubstantiated. But you're seeing pictures and things like that cropping up on the owners' groups on Facebook, and it's simple things like head bolts not being tight and stuff, and people are driving the car home hearing a rattling noise, and they start investigating it and find something ridiculous like a head bolt's not tight, or a manifold in the a bolt in the manifold's not tight, and you're like, how the hell's that happened? It'd probably be a master tech working on that in the dealership. How have they done that? But it could just be somebody loosening it, trying to get a free service. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, the thing was, it was, like I said, the Mustangs and the RS engines are slightly different. And apparently what it is, the RSs have a couple of extra cooling holes in the block than the Mustang does. Obviously, the RSs are expected to be running a slightly higher power than the Mustang. So when they've put the Mustang head gaskets on, a couple of those cooling holes aren't in the gasket. So parts of the head haven't been getting cooled, and then that's why obviously the head gasket faults have been occurring. So, but yeah, it was a slight cock up.
Just a small one. Never had no problem with the Mark 1. I know the Mark 2 is not necessarily the RS, but the ST, they had the problem with the block liners cracking. Right. But it's a Volvo engine, it's not a Ford engine, so never mind. Sorry. But yeah, the Mark 1
should be more reliable then.
Yeah, they should be. I mean, people are making stupid amounts of power out of them engines with very little work done to them. It's crazy what kind of power they're making out of them now. And fair play to them. I don't think you need stupid power out of a front wheel drive car, but if people want to do it, people can do it.
Oh, the more power, the better, though, isn't it? I mean, I was looking at just going back to the Mark III being effortless power and stuff. Mm-hmm. On our most recent Nürburgring trip, the Audi, like my Audi's running as perfect as it's ever run. Obviously, it's got all its new brakes and suspension and everything now as well, so it's all as good as it's going to be. But we were doing obviously a few pulls on the autobahns and messing about, and Hannah turned to me at one point and said, "Is it all right? Is it running all right? Is it broke? Or is it all right?" And I said, "No, it's fine. So it's running perfect, it's spot on." And she was like, "Well, why does it seem so slow?" I said, "Well, the thing is, I mean that car's running nearly 400 horsepower, but it's a 2005 four-wheel drive heavy Audi running that sort of power." And the cars I was with were like 140s, 135s, M2s, M3s. Basically, it was a load of BMs and a Porsche Turbo as well, brand new Porsche Turbo. So that didn't count. But the thing is, modern cars these days are that fast out of the box. I mean, we thought, like I said, a Mark 1 Focus RS. My car wasn't far behind that when it was built. It's only a couple of years difference. And I mean, anything over 200 horsepower back in the early 2000s, you thought it was fast. But now, your average hot hatch is coming out with 350, 400 horsepower, and you put a remap on a 140, and all of a sudden it's literally taking on Porsches. It's unreal how fast cars have become these days.
And you've got the gearboxes, the DSG box is worth like a second 0 to 60 because it's changing gear that fast for you. And it's just everything's against you, isn't it? I mean, that Focus is quite a quick car. It's light as well, which is probably the main benefit of it. So when you get it on the twisty country roads, it's fantastic. But yeah, like you said, just a normal, like a Golf R these days with a DSG box in standard trim, you're not keeping up with them. Bloody Golf Rs.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I was talking to someone the other day about this. He's just bought a brand new AMG GTR, and it's a lovely car, very lovely car. But he also likes to listen to Elton John while he's driving. So, but I was laughing with him the other day because from the outside you'd never guess this because there's tyre smoke, there's pops, bangs, fire, there's all sorts happening. Meanwhile, he's sat inside his car in his flip-flops listening to Elton John. And I was like, yeah. I said, it's the complete difference to what's happening in my Audi. Because in my Audi, I'm driving down the road pretty quietly, not looking like I'm going that fast. Meanwhile, inside it, I'm tap dancing, doing left foot braking and having to heel toe on every downshift and hanging on for dear life. And I was like, well, that's the difference here, isn't it? With the new cars and the old cars. New cars have made it that easy to drive quick, but it's now effortlessly. Whereas the older cars, you're more involved, but you're not going that fast at the end of the day. So
I mean, you get to drive more of the fast stuff than I do as well. So you know, if anyone's going to know that kind of thing, it's definitely you. And but you can appreciate how easy things are getting to drive with all the driver aids and everything's not just got to be quick these days. It's got to be comfortable as well. So, you know, even I was sat in, what was it, at Silverstone? It was actually, it was actually the safety car, the F1 safety car. And the guy came over and he's like, yeah, you know, start the engine, give it a good rev up and things. And even though they're a stripped out car for being a safety car, it's still relatively quiet inside the actual car itself. And that's a hardcore track one that's meant to lead Formula One cars on a racing circuit. And it's still quieter than my 2003 Focus sat outside. But I mean, you know, if anyone's got one and they want to swap, I'll quite happily do it. But
I mean, it's like the new, like, obviously I've been lucky enough to drive like stuff like the new 458 Speciale and stuff like that. That's meant to be a stripped out race car, and it's got this carbon fibre everywhere, Alcantara and leather everywhere. It's comfier than my living room, but yet it'll still do 200 miles an hour quite easily. So it's mad. But anyway, going back to what we were saying before about these...
we digress.
Well, I've got a feeling that might happen. But, you know, we were saying about these cars that have recently come up for sale, the RSs and the STs and whatnot. I've found the thing here. Yeah, so basically, right, he's got a 2005 Ford Focus ST2 in electric orange with 1 mile on it. So... I mean, how you even... Delivery mileage is usually 20, so how you even get a car with 1 mile on it, it's...
And how do you put a value on it? I mean, that's got to go to auction. You couldn't value that.
No.
And is there an RS there as well, like 0.7 miles on the clock?
Oh, well, yeah, it gets better, yeah. That was the first one. So go on, I'll quickly run through them all, and then we'll have a chat about what they are, yeah. So he's got his 2005 ST2 in electric orange, a 2006 ST3 in frozen white. That's with 7 miles on it. He's got a 2007 Focus ST500 with 7 miles on it.
That'll be worth something.
Yeah, that'll be worth a few quid. Then he's got a 2003 Mark 1 Focus RS with 21 miles on it. Again, that's got to be worth a few quid.
Oh, yeah.
A 2003 53 plate Mark 1 Focus RS with 250 miles on it. And then he's into his Mark 2 Focus RSs. He's got an RS in frozen white with 0.8 miles on. Like, how? Like,
yeah.
And then he's got another 2009 RS in ultimate green with 1.5. Is frozen white, is that the normal white colour? Is the frozen like the BMWs where it's like a matte white?
No, I think it is the normal white. Martin Leachy's got one, hasn't he? I think it is. It's like a normal metallic white. It's shiny anyway. It's not a matte white.
Sorry, Bash, my screen's gone off. I'm trying to find you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've lost your video. I can see myself.
Oh, there you are. I can see you. Yeah, right. So, yeah, my screen had turned off. So, so frozen white is just the normal Ford white. I always thought it was called Polar white or something like that, but I'm guessing that's what the Transit vans wear, aren't they? Yeah,
questionable opinion on them, but I think the white's the best colour for them as well. The green's nice, but it's a bit too in your face for me. I like the white. The blue's a bit.
Yeah, it's a bit
aggressive.
Yeah,
the white's.
The blue's just Ford Mondeo blue. It's just
was it performance blue? So it's not even imperial blue, which is the best blue. You know, it's I don't. If they painted it imperial blue, it'd be a different story.
Yeah, I was having this argument with a lad just the other day. He was talking about Cosworths and stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, the best colour is performance blue." And I was like, "What you on about performance blue? You never did a Cosworth in performance blue. It's imperial blue." And they're like, "Yeah, same thing, innit?" It's like, no, it's not the same thing at all. Not when you actually see them up close, and they're a completely different colour. But yeah, we're saying so these cars obviously they're going to go to auction, but I mean, how do you see something? Let's take the Mark II STs into. Obviously, the RSs are going to go for silly money. That's a fact. They're going to go for stupid money. But the STs, I don't know. They're an ST.
I don't know.
Not, they're not special really. They're just an ST.
Anybody's wanting to collect as far. I mean, there will be people out there that want to collect them. I've never seen anyone. Whereas there's people out there that will hoard RSs because they do go up in value and they're a tax-free investment. So you can keep it for as long as you want, make 20 grand on it, sell it on, and not have to pay a penny of tax on it, unlike houses. But you've never really seen people do that with anything like an ST. So I'd be curious as to what they go for. I mean, I'm curious as to what the lot goes for. So, yeah, you just don't know, do you? It'd be interesting, that's for sure.
It's, very strange, to be honest with you. What's the STs? I've just got no idea where they're going to go. It's but then again, I suppose it'll be stuff like obviously the Mark II RSs have gone through the roof. The Mark II escort RSs, I'm talking. But if you were to just buy a normal 1.3 pop or something like that, they're still big money. They're not as big.
Because people want the body now, don't they? If it's a 3-door, they want the body so they can not transfer chassis numbers and things like that. But
But are you going to pay big money for an ST to do that, or would you just buy your bog standard 3-door Focus that you can get for £200? So it's an odd one. So anyway, that we've done a bit of Ford talk there for a man who's not even ever owned the Ford. I think I've spoken enough about them. Let's go back.
There's time yet.
I'm sure. I'll buy a Ford at some point. But I was going to say, let's go back to you. You were saying before you got into your cars, you weren't into cars because you was obviously stationed abroad and a soldier. That's one thing that I've always known you were in the army, and I've never personally actually known much more than that. So, what's the story behind that? Go on. Wait, I'm assuming you went straight from school into military.
Yeah, I did. My granddad. I spent a bit of time when I was younger living with my grandparents on my dad's side, and he told me a couple of stories. He was a commando in World War II, Royal Marine Commando, Juno Beach landing, the Canadian Special Forces, and I'd had enough stories to know that I wanted to emulate what he did, and I wasn't joining the Marines. No one here fit enough for that. Never have been, and definitely never will be. So I joined the army, and I'd signed up initially to be a multi-launch rocket system operator in the artillery. The careers office doing what they do convince you to do something else. So I ended up joining the Royal Signals as a combat lineman. The best way to describe it is a BT engineer with a gun.
I was about to say, what's a combat lineman?
BT engineer with a gun. So open reach engineer with a rifle is probably the best way of putting it. And it was boring. It was crap. I don't know why I joined up to do that. I should have stood my ground. But thankfully, about a year and a half into my first working unit, I got on the right side of a couple of high-ranking people and was told, do any course you want. Go on, you take your pick. And I don't know why I decided, but I wanted to go and do a dog handler's course. So I went away.
I knew you'd done something with dogs, canines, things like that. So going through, you went off and did the dog handling course.
Went away, ended up picking up some really nasty dog that had been sent back from Bosnia for re-evaluation. So I never did find out what he'd done to be sent back, but normally it's bad if they send them back for that kind of thing. They gave him to me.
He probably does set like a corporal's dinner or something like that, or a sergeant or whatever high up person.
He definitely chomped on somebody anyway and made a mess of them. But the only reason they gave him me was because they're going through all these dog names and they're like, you can have this one, you can have that one. And his name's like Lassie and Susie and stuff like that. So I just turned around and said, watch me get one called Tyson or Satan or something. He went, Corporal Bashforth. Funny one, you, aren't you? Sabre. And damn it. Sure enough, we went out to these kennels and it's like a long row of kennels. And they're like metal-fronted sheds, so you've got bars and the dog's in there, and there's a hatch at the back they can go through to, and like a sleeping and feeding area where it's nice and warm. And all these dogs are sat there, all these German shepherds, pointy ears, wagging their tails, all happy that they're getting out for a bit. And then there's one on the end going absolutely mental, headbutting the bars, growling, barking. And as I'm walking up, I'm thinking, I know which one that one is. Yeah, all right. You get closer and Sabre getting on the... Damn it. Uh-oh. and it was a civilian instructor, Trev, and he said to me, "Now remember what I told you. Go up to the kennel, look at the dog, don't show it you're scared. Open the door, walk in, turn your back to the dog, shut the door, you'll be fine." And my head and everything's thinking, you're not going to be fine here. Don't do this. Just don't do it. But before I'd even had a second chance to think about it, something else had kicked in and said, "Yeah, but he's a civilian. He doesn't want you getting hurt." And I'd gone in, I'd bolted the door shut, and it was as I shut the door, I thought, crap, I'm here now. Yeah, all right, I've not been bitten. And it was just sat there looking up at me like this, just tongue out of one side of its mouth, whimpering a bit. And I'm thinking, this is all right, this works. And I look back at the instructor, and he's white as a ghost, crapping himself like, "You weren't meant to do that. Your dog's over there." And I'm like, he's here now, he's all right. And it was at the end of the course. I was never meant to go back to my unit with a dog. I was literally just meant to be there for a jolly do your handlers course, have a nice 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it was, enjoy yourself, come back, and then just carry on doing whatever you're doing. But when they said to me, "You're taking him back to your unit," and I explained, I'm not really meant to be doing, and they said, "Well, it's either that or he's getting the injection. He's going off to the kennel in the sky." I'm like, "Well, I'm not having that. I'll take him with me." And sure enough, I got back to my unit, and my regimental sergeant major, who was the one that got me the course, he says to me, "What's that?" I'm like, "Dog." Why have you got a dog? Why have you got a dog? Dog handler. No, that wasn't part of the agreement. I said, "But he's here now. If you want to take him away from me, feel free, but I'm not guaranteeing what's going to happen." And that was it. I had a dog. So no more linemen, no more working on vehicles, and no dog, which was great because dogs can't work as much as humans can. Dogs get fed better than humans, and dogs generally had a better working environment than humans. So I suddenly had an easier life because of this dog. So yeah, it was pretty good. I was the first Royal Signals dog handler. He then had the great idea that he was going to try and get me jumping out of planes with the dog, because he wanted to be able to boast to people that he had the first Signals badged dog handler and first Signals badged airborne dog handler. But I ain't for that. I'm not jumping out of planes. Not with a dog tied to you. And they do literally tie him to the front of you. So you've got all your gear on your back, and then the dog tied to you on the front, and they put a muzzle over it so it can't turn around and rip your face off on the way down. But I'd seen that dog get out of a muzzle before. We're having none of that. So I'll blame it on the dog. I didn't want to do it because of the dog. Nothing to do with, no, not happening. But,
with the 10,000 foot. Hit terra firma.
It's meant to be an exhilarating experience, but it's not one for me. Just no. There's too.
So have you managed to do your whole military career without ever falling out of a plane?
Yeah, it was great. I've been on a few planes, none of them ever crashed, so I was all right. If it crashed, I'd jump out. When you know you've got a problem when it lands, then you jump out. But if you know it's landing by itself, why jump out? Nah, I'm all right.
Yeah. So did you have any? Where were you deployed? Did you have any proper deployments with the dog, or were you?
I got Iraq, so it was like a holiday. I shouldn't really put it that way, because I know people that had some very bad tours, but mine really was. It started off as a holiday, so we got told there's a boat going from Thessaloniki port in Greece to Iraq. It's carrying military equipment. It needs escorting. It's going through Pirate Alley. There's a high chance of it getting hijacked. You guys need to go and protect it. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I can do that. No dog. Not taking dog. Dog's getting looked after by somebody else. But there were 6 of us that went. It was a big rush job. Get your equipment. Now you're flying out to Greece. And we flew from Gatwick Airport in uniform, which is a bit of a weird thing because you're walking through an airport, and Iraq had settled in by that point. Everybody knew what was going on, but still seeing uniformed armed soldiers walking through an airport was a bit strange for some people, and you had a lot of people looking at you.
Am I right in thinking they no longer travel in? You don't travel in uniform anymore, do you?
Yeah, they stopped it. They stopped it back in those days because it was people didn't like us. I don't get what's changed between then and now. The guys haven't changed. The job they're doing hasn't changed. I think it must just be the way the media report on things, and they don't make you out to be some nasty baby-killing rapist or whatever they were reporting on back then. And now everybody loves you. So it's gone from being everybody hates you and people were just basically eyeing you up to give you a bit of a kick in. I'll bring the light back.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm pressing the screen over here and I'm thinking, what the hell there?
No, it's me. Screensaver.
Yeah, mine keeps doing the same over this side.
But And yeah, I don't know, it's just strange. Everybody likes soldiers now, fair play, because the job they do, a lot of the guys join up from school, and you're still very young and very naive, and you never expect to be going into the environment that you're going into. And the lucky ones come back. They've got plenty of friends that are screwed up by what they've seen and what they've done, and the lucky ones end up coming back, and they've got the legs and their arms and stuff, but they might not have everything that's going on up here. So it's, it seems to be very, very rare these days that you can speak to an ex-soldier that's done time on tour and they're not screwed up in one way, shape, or form. And there's some great charities out there. And, they're doing great work with people. And, it's just really sad because there's nowhere near enough support for that kind of thing. Yeah. But digressing, where were we? Me, Iraq, my holiday.
So you just been deployed on holiday to
the
airport.
Oh, it was a cruise, mate. It was a cruise. Yeah, well, a funny story actually. We're going through the airport and everybody's looking at you and everything. You dump your Bergens on, you check it in like a suitcase, and then you go through your hand luggage check. And our hand luggage comprises of pistols, assault rifles, bayonets, and that kind of thing. So you're putting it all on there. This thing's going mental at you because it's picking up all the things it's meant to be picking up. And everything's going through, and the guy's looking at you like, yeah, paperwork. Okay. Pistol, yeah, paperwork. So you get to the other end and everything's going back on. Your armor's going back on, your webbing's going back on, rifles getting slung back over your back, pistols going back in the holster. And he's like, oh, stop. You need to come here and have a look at this. Okay. What's that? And I went, I don't know. Open your bag. And it was just my normal little day sack that's got like a change of clothes and things like that, and a washing shave kit and all that. So I pulled it out. And he's like, all right, what's in that little bag in there? And I said, well, that's my washing and shaving kits. There's like deodorant and shower gel and stuff like that in there. Open it up. Okay. And what's that? Like nail scissors. The little tiny scissors that you cut your fingernail.
Yeah.
Can't take them on the plane. Why not? He said, he could hijack the plane with them. I just looked at him and said, are you taking the piss? And he looked up and just plain faced and he went, no, you can't take them on the plane. I said, but this hijack the plane thing. And he's like, yes, you could hijack the plane. So I'm taking a 9mm pistol on the plane. I'm taking an assault rifle on the plane. Yeah, but bladed weapon. So I'm taking a bayonet on the plane, but you've got paperwork for that. It's just no common sense. I mean, the guy's doing his job, fair play, but nail scissors. We got on the plane, we told the air crew, they were cracking their sides laughing. We told the pilot, he were cracking his sides laughing. And we flew from there.
So are you on a civilian flight then?
Yeah, British Airways. As it stands, I mean, this thing was flying out to Greece, and we were going from Greece to... this thing was flying out to Kosovo, sorry. We were flying out to Pristina in Kosovo, and we were going to drive from Kosovo into Greece for some reason completely unbeknown to me. And on this flight, as luck as it was a load of anti-war protesters that were going out there to some protest at some government building or something, and then there's those 6 uniformed armed soldiers on this British Airways flight. So it was a bit of a surreal experience for however long the flight was, and they kind of sectioned us off at one little corner of the plane away from everybody else, so we couldn't hear them calling us bastards and all that kind of thing anymore. But we're escorting a boat. We're not there to kill anyone. Don't worry. If we don't get attacked, we won't attack. It's fine. We're going for a holiday. Leave us alone. But yeah, it was a weird one, and we got into Pristina Airport, and then it got worse because nobody had informed the local authorities that there were 6 armed soldiers landing on a civilian flight. So we got dragged off the plane at gunpoint in a weird country that wasn't strictly speaking at peace at the time. So we were panicking a little bit, but as luck has it, within 10 minutes, we're on our way by handshake. And we drove to Thessaloniki in Greece, which is one of the main ports, shipping ports. And there was no boat there. So this whole big rush job to get us out there, we're like, well, where's this bloody boat? No, it'll be here in 2 weeks. Well, we're here now. What are we going to do? And they ended up putting us up in a hotel. And the 6 of us, they gave us €150 a day, which, I mean, to be honest, even now is ample, but back then it was plenty. And we'd literally just booked out a B&B, the 6 of us, and we just sit outside this B&B getting absolutely shit-faced all day long every day for 2 weeks. And then the boat turned up, and it was a Polish crew on a brand new Japanese boat that had a cinema on it and a spa and everything. It was more like a cruise ship that carried shipping containers. And, we enjoyed that as well. The crew didn't speak much English. There was a translator on the boat, and the second officer spoke fluent English. And they literally said to us, there's only certain times that we need you. Mainly going through the Suez Canal because it's quite close to the side and people can get on if they need to. going round the Horn of Africa at the bottom as well, because that's where all the pirates are. So we need you then. And then coming up into Umpqusar in the Straits, up into the port, we need you there. I'm like, well, that makes up about 4 days of a 3-week journey. And he said, yeah, other than that, just get drunk.
I was going to say, I'm guessing the rest of the journey's open seas, and there's not exactly much threat when you're out in the middle of nowhere, is there? So...
No, it was really good. We were meant to get into Umpqusar, and the boat was meant to berth, and we were meant to stay with the boat until they unloaded the boat. And then we got told, but now you're staying. You're staying here now. We can utilise you doing X, Y, and Z. So we ended up staying on for a tour, and then back to the UK. And then that was when I put in my transfer to the veterinary corps, and everything went wrong from that point on, basically. And I got sent out to Germany. That wasn't part of the plan. In Germany, got denied my transfer to the veterinary corps to be a dog trainer again. On operational urgency, they called it. So going back out to Iraq, you're going out, like, all right, that doesn't sound too bad. Then didn't end up going back to Iraq. You've done too many accountants courses. You can manage a fuel account, manage a vehicle fleet. Like, there's no vehicles or fuel here. But just in case, you're staying behind. So there was me and 3 other guys that got left behind out of a squadron of 200 for 7 months in the end. And it was awful. It's going to be much like this, staying in a house now for a month while all this virus dies down and stuff. And sure enough, they got back. A lot of them got signed off because it was a very bad tour, and I signed off because I generally had enough. When you sign off in the army, you've got to go through a lot of discharge paperwork. And it's like going around to your quartermaster to make sure you've got no equipment left. Go around to the accommodation people to make sure you're not smashed up your room and things like that. It's just to get signed off to make sure you don't owe anybody anything anymore.
Yeah.
And one of the last people that's got to sign you off is the highest ranking person that you work under. And because our colonel was away and our major was away, it was a second lieutenant, so quite a young guy I was with. And he said to me then, "Why are you leaving?" I said, "Because I want to go veterinary corps." And everybody's stopped me up to this point, and I just feel like my job's pointless. I'm not doing anything. I've ended up being landed pushing a pen around the desk instead of deploying and doing what I really wanted to do. I can make it happen for you. I said, or I believe you. I sign back on right now, and then I've got to give another 12 months notice when you turn around and go, "Ha, I was joking." So I left, and I had a long drive back from Osnabrück, and to ponder what I did. And still to this day, like 12 years on or whatever it is, I still think, did I really make the right decision? But yeah.
I was going to say, I suppose in a way, depending on which way you look at it, I suppose you got out just in time, because obviously it wasn't. Well, 9/11 would have happened by that point, wouldn't it?
It happened. Yeah, it happened. There were guys in Afghan already. Iraq had kicked off big time, so it was pretty much in the thick of things then. So the initial invasion phase was pretty much over and done with, and things had moved into a peacekeeping role, but certain things were happening over there that wasn't anything to do with the Brits, and it wasn't generally peacekeeping, and things were just getting a lot more nasty. But so yeah, it's all good and well me looking at it now, thinking, well, if I was still in now, I'd have been in 20 years, so I'd be 2 years away from a full pension. But at the same time, I might not be alive.
No, yeah.
So it's easy to think of what could be on the positive side of things, but also on the flip side of it, I might not be here. I wouldn't be back. So yeah, it's all good and well thinking what if, but at the same time, what if on the right side of things? I know what's happened, and I think I'm in a better place now for it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of friends that are in the military. I've got friends in Army, Navy, and RAF. They're all over the place, and it's luckily, obviously, like I said, touch wood. Everyone I know who's in the military they're all still there and also alive and kicking. But yeah. I'm sure much of the things they don't talk about, I'm sure they know a few people who aren't with us anymore. So it's
easy. It is easy not to see it, and to be honest, a lot of people that are struggling with it won't say anything. And it was about a year ago that I happened across a charity called Mission Motorsport, and they basically put ex-soldiers into racing cars and things like that as a form of rehabilitation, which to me is fucking fantastic. What better way of rehabilitating somebody could be than
a race car?
Exactly, and they started up something called Mission Automotive, which was to stick ex-soldiers into the automotive industry, which is how I've ended up with Toyota. But I only happened across them because they were doing the recruitment side of things for Toyota, and I'd never heard of them up to that point. And since then, I've been on various karting events with them and things like that. And then last year, we did the Race of Remembrance at Anglesey Circuit. And we had Tom Ingram, the British touring car driver, driving our car. So I was effectively running the pit crew for Tom Ingram, which was awesome. The guy's hilarious. He's just, he's amazing. Some of the stupid stories he comes out with, he's not what you'd expect from a professional racing driver. But yeah, cracker guy, what a guy. But the charity and the work they do is, it's bloody brilliant. It's absolutely second to none, the work they put into people and everything that's there. But being at Anglesey for those 4 days, long nights, lots of drinking, But that's when it opens your eyes, because the other people there are beneficiaries. So the people that have needed the help of the charity, whether it's through physical injuries or mental injuries. And, you've got guys there that are missing limbs, guys there that can't sleep at night because of the things that they're seeing over and over again. And they had a team of occupational therapists that were down there, literally. So if anybody has a bit of a wobble, they can pull you off to one side, take you to a nice quiet building somewhere, sit you down and just have a talk to you. And then the whole idea of the weekend is it's built around Remembrance Sunday. So at 10 o'clock on the Sunday, all the cars come back into the pits. Everything stops. Padre starts. They do the remembrance service. And the end to that is signalled by all the engines firing up again, and the endurance race carries on again, 50 odd cars on the track. And so it's a very surreal weekend, but seeing all those people that are injured in one way, shape or form really does bring it home to you. And I've avoided that for quite a long time since I left. So yeah, last year, Remembrance Sunday, seeing everything going on and all the people in the various ways that have been affected by it, it was pretty upsetting, to be honest. But strong-minded people dealing with it as best they can in their own ways.
Yeah, well, I suppose take it onto a lighter note from.
Go on.
Well, you obviously just mentioned the motorsport and things like that, and obviously I know you're a big Formula One fan.
Oh yeah, which isn't running. Bloody coronavirus.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a good point or not to bring up at the moment with this current climate. But
I've got tickets for Silverstone. I'm meant to be going to Texas this year, and I don't think we're going to be doing either. So, yeah, I got tickets for Circuit of the Americas finally. But
that looks like an awesome circuit as well.
The way we planned it as well was we've got 5 days with accommodation booked in Austin, hire car booked, which I think is a pickup. We've decided to go full-on broke-back American Texas experience. But then we've got a week, 8 days after the race, where we've booked no accommodation. We've just got the hire car, and it was going to be a case of drive wherever we feel like it, stay in a roadside motel, and head up to Dallas, go to Gas Monkey, and do that kind of thing. And I don't think any of it's going to happen now, sadly. But
no, when's that meant to be on?
October, so there's hope. But
yeah, I mean, have they cancelled the whole F1 calendar at the moment, or have they just cancelled the foreseeable?
Not yet. The next race on the calendar up to be cancelled is Silverstone, so everything's cancelled till like the middle of July. So we can only hope. We'll have to see.
Are they doing refunds and whatnot for that?
You'd have thought they would do. I mean, Silverstone will probably offer refunds or a ticket to next year's race.
Next year.
We've been going every year for 10 years, so I'll happily take next year's race anyway. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But Texas will lose them because it's all booked individually. So they've got the flight booked, the car booked, the accommodation booked, the tickets booked. One gets cancelled, you can't claim it all back, can you?
Well, it depends because I mean, how have you booked your flights and your accommodation? Have you done it through Booking.com or anything like that?
No, the accommodation's Airbnb, so we will get some of that back at least. The flights were Skyscanner. The hire car is wherever the hire car's booked through. So yeah, it is its own step.
I was going to say you might find, because I mean I'm obviously in the same situation at the moment. I should have been in Morocco last week, which was booked through an agent. And I never booked for an agent, but it was booked for an agent, and that obviously got cancelled, and now we're struggling to get anything back from them. Whereas I should be at the Nürburgring next month, well, in about a week or 2 weeks, I should be at the Nürburgring, and obviously I've been doing that trip for that many times over the years. I book all that myself, book it all separately. You've just reminded me about the hire car. That's the only bit I've not looked at. But I got an email from Ryanair. They've cancelled the flight, full refund, no questions asked. I booked my accommodation through Booking.com, and you don't pay until you get there as long as you cancel. And if you cancel, it's like 7 days or 14 days. You don't have to pay. It's fine. So I've booked that. So as it currently runs at the moment, the trip that I booked all separates on, I'm fine on, apart from the car, which I totally forgot about. I'll chat that up later on. Whereas the one that I booked through an agent, when you think you'd be safe, at the moment, that's the one that's up in the air, and I can't get anything back because they won't cancel it; they'll just postpone it. So they'll let me rebook it in a few months. But what if that agent goes busting all this and they're not there in a few months? If they won't give me a cancellation invoice, I can't claim off my insurance because it's not been cancelled. So at the moment, it's just check up on that on the separate booking things, because you might find you'll be fine and be able to get most of your money back anyway.
I mean, if the race gets cancelled and they do let people into America by that point, we might just go anyway. Now, I think it's 11 days. We've got to drive around and do whatever instead of 8. But yeah, it's just if. Hopefully it runs. It'd be a great race to go to. So. Yeah.
Like say, going and visiting Gas Monkey and doing a few things up in Dallas without going to the race, it'll still be an awesome trip.
It'll be a laugh.
So, but yeah, there's nothing worse than having a trip to America and things getting cancelled at last minute or not being able to do what you want to do.
It's a holiday not with the wife as well. How often do you get the chance to do that?
Well, never for me.
Exactly. Yeah, never for me.
No. Well, I mean, as you know, I got quite lucky with my wife. She's into everything that I'm into. She's into all the cars and the motorsport and everything else. So I can't go to the Nürburgring without her because she's she wants to be there more than I do. So it's a blessing and a curse.
Rachel is the opposite. So F1 goes on, she falls asleep.
Yeah.
Last year we were at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and a friend of mine who works at Mercedes messaged me on the morning of Friday practice. Are you trackside, yeah? Yeah, why? Come and meet me at the paddock entrance. I want to say hello. Okay. So we walked round to the paddock entrance, and sure enough, Rosa was there. And she's like, here's some passes. Come on, we're going into the paddock. We're going to sit in the back of the garage and watch practice. So I'm bloody loving it. You know, Valtteri Bottas' car broke down, so he's in sat with us all chatting away and they're fixing Valtteri's car. So I'm ignoring him and watching what they're doing with the car, and Hamilton's coming in and going out and high-fiving everyone and shaking hands with everybody. And Rachel's just sat there going, oh, look at the colour of that light up there. You're sat in the back of the championship leaders. You got Hamilton coming in shaking your hand. You got Valtteri Bottas sat next to you. And she's, that's a nice colour. Aren't they a bit loud? And it was ruined, but I enjoyed it. She didn't enjoy it. She went for all the big buildings and the nice fancy stuff in the city and everything. But yeah, we're polar opposites. She hates the Focus, loves that Toyota hybrid, which is perfectly understandable. So, but I think that's why we work, because we're opposites, and I'm kind of lucky in that respect. So, punching well above my weight. If she watches this, I better get that one in there.
I was going to say I never say that, but as you're obviously aware from my Facebook and Instagram and stuff, I'm told that often enough by everyone else out there. So I don't need to say it. Everyone else tells me that I'm punching, so it's fine.
You can accept it. That'll do. You know, it's as good as say.
Yeah. So. I mean, she's. We were meant to be, like I said, next week or week after. We were meant to be over at the Nürburgring watching the VLN endurance racing. And I've got a friend who races over there in a BMW on these. I went over last year with a couple of lads, and like I say, we had all access pass. I had we were there a couple of days earlier, so we were there for the press day, and I got to go out in the race car, fully, full spec endurance race car around the ring, strapped in. I had my first. Well, it's not my first, to be fair. I've had a couple now, but it was my first spin on the Nürburgring. I was going to say my first close call. I've had a couple of close calls, but it was the last year was my first spin on the Nürburgring, full 360, in a full blown race car. That was an experience, especially as
trousers.
Well, the thing is, on the VLN, they use the GP circuit and the Nordschleife. So obviously, when you come out of the pits, you're on the GP circuit, so you do near enough a full lap of the GP before then cutting off and going on to the Nordschleife. We spun while still on the GP, so I'm thinking we're not even a mile into a 15-mile track at the moment, and we've already spun. This doesn't bode well. But we actually spun in front of Sabine Smith as well, so that was which I didn't know. I didn't know it was her at the time until the driver pointed out that that's who it was. But it was an absolutely surreal weekend. Like I said, we were over there. I've got pictures of me having a beer with Sabine and stuff, because the driver that I know over there, turns out he's good friends with Sabine. And, well, I didn't realise that, obviously, as you'll probably know from the Formula 1 scene, there's not that many drivers. There's only, 20, 30 drivers, if that. And they're not... On the news conferences and stuff, yeah, sure, they're a bit competitive, but behind the scenes, they're all best friends.
Oh, they're all mates. Yeah, bloody brilliant.
And it's not actually it's not that big a group of people, so they can all be quite close. So this driver that I know is taking us all around the pits and all around the paddock and stuff, and like I said, we meet. This is obviously when the race is over a couple of days later. But me and a couple of lads went up, and he said, "Oh, I'll meet you. I'll introduce you to Sabine." We'd seen her knocking about around the pits the whole weekend, but obviously they've got a job to do, haven't they? So you don't want to interrupt them. But we went and met her at the end, and she went, "Oh, what you doing? What you doing?" Oh, and I'm thinking, what's up with you? It turned out she was shouting at us because everyone else had a beer apart from us. So she went into the back of her pits. Oh no, yeah, she went into the back of her pits and went into a crate of beer and got us all some beers out. And I was like, this is absolutely mental. So when the opportunity came back to do it again this year, obviously I said to Hannah, I said, right, come on, me and you will go, we'll do it. Again, Martin, the driver that I know over there, he said, right, he said, if you bring in Hannah, he said, how does she fancy me taking her out in the race car? Do you think she'll be up for it? Obviously, I asked Hannah, do you want to go out in the race car? And that was a stupid question. I don't know why I asked, because she was more excited to go in a race car than I am. Yeah, so obviously she's missing out on that because we can't go. Missing out on the whole thing's now cancelled. I think VLN's cancelled until I don't even know when. It's just cancelled indefinitely. I mean, they've cancelled the Nürburgring 24, which is a bit of a thing. So I mean, the driver that I know over there actually won his class in the Nürburgring 24 last year. So he's one hell of a driver, but it's like a lot of these endurance races. There's multi classes. Is that the right word for cars on the road? I mean, he's driving a 330 BMW, but then he's being overtaken by LMP1 cars at the same time, and it's like just a real,
isn't it? You got your LMP cars and your GT cars and everything running all the same. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what they won at VLN. They won. I think they've got basically LMP cars, and then you've got like GT 1, 2, 3. And then you go down into the sort of lower classes than that, which are essentially road cars with a roll cage in them. That's all they are, and that's what my mate runs in. So he's fast in a road car, but you don't half realise how slow a road car is compared to a race car when one of them comes flying past you. That's a bit surreal. So, but yeah, I was saying about the things getting cancelled when you go to America. That was, I mean, me and Hannah went to Vegas. It's Hannah. That's what's jinxed in all this. It's Hannah. Because we went to Vegas last year and we had tickets for the Tyson Fury fight. And you can see what's coming here. The tickets for the Fury fight were lying on my doormat because they came to our house while we were already in America and we couldn't get in, and that was heartbreaking. So nothing you can, I don't why the MGM, like one of the biggest companies ever,
couldn't just check your name on a list.
Yeah, why they don't have e-tickets, I'll never know. But they're still doing paperwork and sending them over airmail back to the UK while I'm in America. I'm like, what are you doing that for? That's pointless. So anyway, back to you and your Formula One. What made you? I'm digressing and going off on a tangent here. What got you into Formula One then?
Me dad, I think. And to be honest, that's where the Ford thing came from. My dad as well. But yeah, I just remember Sundays round at my great grandmother's house on the farm, and we'd always go around there for Sunday dinner. And obviously Sundays is race day. So yeah, I grew up watching Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell, and I just kind of stuck with it ever since. Senna to Mansell to Damon Hill. Then joined up and kind of fell away from it a little bit, but started watching it again when I was in Germany. Somebody happened to have a skybox over there, and that was Montoya then at those, in that time in his Williams and then his McLaren, and then Montoya left, and look as have it, Hamilton came in, and suddenly you got a British driver to support again, and then he spent the last God knows how many years dominating the sport and ruined it, some would say, but making it great to watch if you're a fan of his is the other side of it to look at. And
yeah. I was going to say, Hannah's just walked in. Not.
But no, it's an easy sport to watch. It's something that you don't really need to pay a great lot of attention to, especially at the moment with the lack of overtaking and all that going on. But I mean, I just like going watching it live, and it's strange to say, but Silverstone, if the race got cancelled, you could still have a damn good weekend and you won't miss it. So it's like a festival, but with racing involved rather than loads and loads of music. And there's always random things that happen there as well. Like year before last, we ended up going on the paddock walk. So Thursdays you get your paddock walk, and they draw names out of the hat effectively for it. There's like a ballot that they do for it. And the three of us that ended up going on there, so you go in, everyone crowds around Ferrari and Mercedes, so you can't get anywhere near anything that you want to get near. You're just kind of walking along in the background. You come out the back end, and you're round by Silverstone Wing. And there were three of us there, me, Dave and Rob. Dave's a serving soldier. He's an Apache engineer in the Army Air Corps. And Rob's ex-infantry. So, chances, cocky gits. And Rob's looking up at the wing and going, I bet we can get in there and get a couple of free beers. Yeah, go on then, we'll try this. And sure enough, we walked up and there's some great big meathead came in and he's like, oh, you're not coming in, where's your pass? All right, fair enough. We went back down and there's like 3,000 people now waiting for these buses to go back around to the spectator area. We just looked at each other and went, yeah, let's walk. We've all got rucksacks full of beer. We'll walk it. We'll be all right. We'll walk it. And we're walking along the back of Silverstone Wing in the back of the pit complex. And we see like some young lad pushing a wheelchair, really struggling pushing a wheelchair. And we couldn't make out what was going on or who was happening or anything. So we ran up and we're like, here, we'll help you. So I grab one side of this wheelchair and Rob grabs the other side of this wheelchair. And we picked it up and we're walking along. And there's this young guy saying, oh, you didn't need to do this, lads. And you're all right. And I've got a can of lager in my hand and carrying this wheelchair in the other hand. Don't worry about it. Where are we going? And he's like, just carry on going down here. I'll tell you when you need to stop. And walking along and we're getting closer and closer to a car park. And me being into cars, I'm like, it's a McLaren. There's a Bugatti. There's a couple of Ferraris. And he says, you see that car park there? And I'm like, you mean the one with all the supercars? And he said, yeah, that one. We're going in there. All right. He said, there's a black minibus in one corner. We're going to that. And I'm like, what's a minibus doing in that car? No. We'll go there anyway. So we're walking along, and I just thought, me being stupid, I'm like, I feel it's only a part of the service. Do you offer you a drink? Sir, it was Sir Frank Williams. We were carrying Frank Williams' wheelchair because one of the wheels had snapped off Sir Frank's wheelchair, Williams, team owner. And we'd not realised who it was because we were just thinking, we'll be general helpful citizens and get him to his minibus. And while this young guy who was one of his assistants is strapping him into this minibus, we've then going around realising where we are, taking pictures of ourselves with all the drivers' cars and stuff. So I've still got a picture of me sat on Lewis Hamilton's bike pulling a stupid cheeky grin and then some security guard coming over dragging me off the bike and stuff. And then this young guy comes back and he's like, no, the guests are Sir Frank, you leave them alone. And the following day we ended up in the paddock, sat at the top of the Williams motorhome drinking martinis as they sent drivers and team crew up to us one by one for conversations and stuff. And it was a great day. They're an absolutely brilliant team, family run team, brilliant team. And they'll literally go out of the way to, I'll send you pictures of that if you want to tag them into this, but what a day.
I was going to say, well, send me some pictures of that and send me some pictures of Sabre as well. And I'll put them in here. So, you with your man-eating dog. So, yeah.
The old boy.
So did it all? So obviously that obviously helped get you into it and everything. But because you now get a bit of access when you go to Formula One with Mercedes, don't you? So like you were saying before, how have you managed to wangle that one?
It's just knowing people. You get friendly with certain people. So social media does a lot of it. So you can only follow somebody for so long before they start getting friendly with you. And I've got friendly with a couple of the engineers within the team, mainly because of the engineering side of things. So I'm just more interested on, wow, how does that work? How the hell do you guys do that? So knowing how we do it with road cars and then how do they do it 10 times better with it, just trying to get interested. And that's how it works. And you get talking to the right people and you'll one day get speaking to somebody who runs their Instagram account. And then you'll get speaking to somebody again who builds turbos in high performance powertrains. And before you know it, you've got quite a couple of friends within the team and they start looking after you. And, you'll get an invite to a paddock tour and you'll get an invite to a factory tour and things like that. And yeah, it is. It's a bit weird, but just such nice people to talk to. It'd be such a great avenue to work in. And You know, I know people that do that kind of thing. I know people that are beyond that, like Will Pedley, he's turned down jobs in Formula One because he's that good at what he does. But I mean, that goes back to regrets, doesn't it? If I'd taken a different path when I first left school, I might be there doing it now. But at the age of 36 with a mortgage, there's not really much hope for me to do it. So I'm not going back to university anytime soon, am I? But
no.
Yeah, it is. It's just knowing the right people in the right places, I guess, and being lucky as well at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that with everything, a bit of luck always comes into play with everything in life, doesn't it? You can talk to the right people at the right times and things, but it's having luck to be able to get to see them people at the right times and be in the right place at the right time. So
yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's how a lot of my stuff's happened at the Nürburgring. It's literally just been, I've been there, I've spoke to the right people, and over years it's happened, but it doesn't happen overnight, like you say. You've got to follow these people and talk to these people for a while before anyone takes any notice of you. So it's good. So I can't remember what else we had to talk about, mate.
No, me neither.
I was going to say we've covered quite a while. We've been going for a lot longer than I thought we would as well, to be honest, mate.
It's 10, isn't it?
I know, yeah. Like I say, when we started this, I thought we'd be done before Hannah got home. I mean, I wanted to ask you obviously about your motorsports, and we've done that, and the car scene and the army, and yeah. I mean, I think the only thing we've not covered, but I don't really think we need to because we've filled the time anyway, is your views on politics, because you're a bit outspoken about that type of stuff.
Don't want to get into that one.
Yeah, that's. I was going to use that one as a bit of a filler, and
that could be part two.
Like I say, like I say, we could definitely do a part two because it's plenty to talk about. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, if you're happy with that one, we'll like I say, we'll call it a night, and we'll knock it off and see what's. Like I say, send us some.
Go to bed.
Hey, mate.
It won't be long before the missus wants to go to bed after all.
Yeah, I was going to say Hannah's just walked in from work now, so she's got to go and disinfect herself and get in the shower and stuff. But
shift as well, no doubt.
I know, yeah. So anyway, I was going to say we'll call it a night on the recording. So we'll say goodbye to everybody, but you just hang on there for 5 seconds, and I'll speak to you in a second. Okay, mate.
No worries, mate. All right.
Good to see you. We'll see you again soon.
You too.